Saturday. You can kneel if you want.
Today.
Oh, yeah, well, hey.
I think so. Erica last night said that they were going to come home today. That as we texted, I think Joelle and Todd were embarking. So they thought about home later.
Yes, yes.
So that's all I know.
Since the holiday.
Right. Yeah. Otherwise, they're going to be there for a while.
Hi, Dal.
Hi, Eddie.
Doing good.
Doing good?
Doing good.
Drop this
Doing
out.
good.
Oh, thank you.
I tell you, I'm so happy. I was explaining to Steve. And I've been trouble with this for about over a year. And the person doesn't open, so I can't get gas in the car. So anytime it's colder than 32 degrees, I'm always sweating.
So it's only when
It's only when it's freezing.
Stretch and breathe.
So
Get that heat back.
curl those toes. Drove right to the gas station, I filled it up. Probably all I need until after our trip. That was Now I know where all the hard people are.
I took tickets out early this morning. I said to Steve, I didn't put gloves on. I said, my fingers are
And lately, we've been, our house is electric, but we also put a fireplace, that thing, man, I cook that thing.
Throws it out, right?
It throws out the heat.
Yeah.
And it's right below the TV, so it watch people nice and comfortable.
Oh, yeah. Well, I brought in 2 loads of wood in our little carrier.
Oh, yeah,
Our
yeah.
car, little
Right.
car, brought it into the garage. And
Be official about it.
2 minutes. It's fireplace.
Oh, they're up there now. They're up there now, yeah.
It is.
I mean, unless that's. No matter what.
Friends, good morning.
Good morning.
So we owe a special debt of thanks this morning to one of our congregations, Carol Melendez. It was Carol who suggested that instead of merely canceling worship tomorrow, that we gather together today. For various reasons, both having to do with technical stuff and personnel, we couldn't put on a traditional worship service, but we did have this alternative worship in the can, so to speak, ready to go. And so we decided that today we would worship a little bit differently. This is a worship service that will be focused on listening to God. We speak to God all the time, as we should. We sing our praises to God, as we should. But we also need to take some time in the quiet, in the silence, to listen. In the next couple days, we're going to get this massive snowstorm, they tell us. And there are only 2 types of silence that I have experienced in this world that truly fill my soul. One is when I'm standing at the top of a mountain on a still day, and the other is when a blanket of snow covers the ground, muffles all the sound, and it is beautiful and holy. it looks like we're going to be experiencing that beauty and holiness in the next couple days. So with that, let me, and we will take some silences in the service today. And the reason is simply because with both the Word of God, which is mostly poetry, and with poetry itself, you need to let it sink into your heart, your mind, your soul, even your body. So we're going to take some time. So this will be a little bit different than our traditional service, but I hope you'll find it edifying. Sue, would you like to talk about poetry?
You can file this under you can't keep an old English teacher down. First, a little biography of Mary Oliver. She was born in Maple Heights, Ohio in 1935. Partly to retreat from her difficult home life, she would often skip school, shame on her, and spend time in the woods, good for her, around her house, reading and rereading the likes of Keats and Dickinson and Whitman. I got saved by poetry, she later said, and by the beauty of the world. After dropping out of college, it seems she wasn't cut out to be a student in the regular sense. She made a pilgrimage to Steepletop Austerlitz, New York. She visited the historic home of Edna St. Vincent Millay. Mary hit it off with Millay's sister, Norma, and ended up staying for 7 years, helping Norma organize Millay's papers and working on her own poems. At Steepletop, she also met the photographer Molly Malone Clark. Mary and Molly fell in love, eventually moving together to Provincetown, Massachusetts. There, Mary lived most of her life, often walking in the early mornings among the forests, ponds, and dunes of Province lands. In 1984, Mary Oliver won the Pulitzer Prize for her collection, American Primitive. And in 1992, the National Book Award for new and selected poems. Over the years, she frequently explored the natural beauty and explored the natural world in her poetry, often from spiritual perspectives, including Christian and Buddhist ideas. By the time of her death in 2019, she had become one of the most well-known and beloved poets in the English-speaking world. Now, I warned you about me being an old teacher, right? I used to teach poetry to teenagers, and their first reaction was always a big, oh no, poetry. Of course, unlike you, they were a captive audience. You've chosen to be here. The thing is, Mary Oliver's poetry is genuinely accessible. You don't have to think like, it's John Donne or something. It's accessible poetry. But I got to thinking that maybe some of the things I used to say to my students might also be edifying, illuminating for this experience. And so here goes. One thing, it's possible that in each poem there is at least one line or image that speaks to you. Doesn't need to be any more than that. Always assume that line breaks, diction, syntax, imagery, line length, meter, and rhyme, or lack thereof, reflect the poet's deliberate choice and affect what they were expressing about the way they personally understand human experience. Most importantly, a poem is not a puzzle that you have to put together or a mystery that you have to solve. Indeed, you are the one who makes the meaning of a poem. Listening to it and reading it more than once or twice, you are not necessarily required to figure out what the poet meant and be done with it. Oliver, in fact, often speaks directly to the reader or asks a question. Perhaps she is suggesting that you identify what the poem says to you about your experience. For this service, we have chosen 5 selections from Scripture and 5 poems by Mary Oliver. One of them is long. And we hope these will amplify your experience of praise and prayer. In the silence following each grouping, you can reread the selections if you wish. You have them all. And you can take what meaning you find. If one line from either of them stands out to you, meditate on it. We hope you enjoy this service. So let's begin with a prayer.
Holy and gracious God, we ask that you be with us this morning as we listen to your word, to the words of the poet Mary Oliver. We know, O God, that you are still speaking and that your revelation continues every minute of every day. Let us hear your voice, and let us look for all of the ways in which you communicate your love for us. Help us, Holy One, to remain open to the love that you pour into your creation, which is magnificent, and which speaks to us with clarity and wisdom. Speak to our hearts, O Lord, and let us do what is required of all of your servants. Let us pay attention to your holy will. Now, a reading from the book of Revelation, chapter 22, verse 2. On both sides of the river, the crystal clear river that comes from God's throne, was the tree of life, bearing 12 kinds of fruit, producing its fruit every month. The leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations.
Foolishness. No, it's not. From 1,000 Mornings. Sometimes I spend all day trying to count the leaves on a single tree. To do this, I have to climb branch by branch and write down the numbers in a little book. So I suppose from their point of view, it's reasonable what my friends say. What foolishness. She's got her head in the clouds again. But it's not. Of course I have to give up. But by then I'm half crazy with the wonder of it, the abundance of the leaves, the quietness of the branches, the hopelessness of my effort. And I am in that delicious and important place, roaring with laughter, full of earth praise.
A reading from Psalm 19, verses 1 through 4. The heavens are telling the glory of God, and the firmament proclaims his handiwork. Day to day pours forth speech, and night to night declares knowledge. There is no speech, nor are there words. Their voice is not heard. Yet their voice goes out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world.
Praying from devotions. It doesn't have to be the blue iris. It could be weeds in a vacant lot, or a few small stones. Just pay attention, then patch a few words together, and don't try to make them elaborate. This isn't a contest, but the doorway into thanks and a silence in which another voice may speak.
Reading from the book of Job, chapter 12, verses 7 through 10. But ask the animals, and they will teach you, and the birds in the sky, they will tell you. Or speak to the earth, and it will teach you. Or let the fish in the sea inform you. Which of all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In his hand is the life of every creature and the breath of all mankind.
To begin with, the sweet grass from evidence. Will the hungry ox stand in the field and not eat of the sweet grass? Will the owl bite off its own wings? Will the lark forget to lift its body in the air or forget to sing? Will the rivers run upstream? Behold, I say, behold the reliability and the finery and the teachings of this gritty earth. Eat bread and understand comfort. Drink water and understand delight. Visit the garden where the scarlet trumpets are opening their bodies for the hummingbirds who are drinking the sweetness, who are thrillingly gluttonous. For one thing leads to another. Soon you will notice how stones shine underfoot. Soon, eventually, tides will be the only calendar you believe in. And someone's face whom you love will be as a star, both intimate and ultimate. And you will both be heart-shaken and respectful. And you will hear the air itself like a beloved whisper, "Oh, let me for a while longer enter the two beautiful bodies of your lungs." The witchery of living is my whole conversation with you, my darlings. All I can tell you is what I know. Look, and look again. This world is not just a little thrill for your eyes. It is more than bones. It is more than the delicate wrist with its personal pulse. It is more than the beating of the single heart. It is praising. It's giving until the giving feels like receiving. You have a life. Just imagine that. You have this day, and maybe another, and maybe still another. Someday I'm going to ask my friend Paulus, the dancer, the potter, to make me a begging bowl, which I believe my soul needs. And if I come to you, to the door of your comfortable house, with unwashed clothes and unclean fingernails, will you put something in it? I would like to take this chance. I would like to give you this chance. We do one thing or another. We stay the same or we change. Congratulations if you have changed. Let me ask you this. Do you also think that beauty exists for some fabulous reason? And if you have not been enchanted by this adventure, your life, what would do for you? What I loved in the beginning, I think, was mostly myself. Never mind that I had to, since somebody had to. That was many years ago. Since then, I have gone out from my confinements, though with difficulty. I mean, the ones that thought to rule my heart. I cast them out. I put them on the mush pile. They will be nourishment somehow. Everything is nourishment somehow or another. And I have become the child of the clouds and of hope. I have become the friend of the enemy, whoever that is. I have become older and, cherishing what I have learned, I have become younger. And what do I risk to tell you this, which is all I know? Love yourself, then forget it. Then love the world.
Reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verses 24 through 25. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures of every kind, cattle and creeping things, and wild animals of the earth of every kind." And it was so. God made the wild animals of the earth of every kind, and the cattle of every kind, and everything that creeps upon the ground of every kind. And God saw that it was good.
5 a.m. in the pine woods. From Devotions. I'd seen their footprints in the deep needles and knew they had ended the long night under the pines, walking like two mute and beautiful women toward the deeper woods. So I got up in the dark and went there. They came slowly down the hill and looked at me, sitting under the blue trees. Shyly, they stepped closer and stared from under their thick lashes, and even nibbled some damp tassels of weeds. This is not a poem about a dream, though it could be. This is a poem about the world that is ours, or could be. Finally, one of them, I swear it, would have come to my arms, but the other stamped sharp hoof in the pine needles like the tap of sanity, and they went off together through the trees. When I woke, I was alone. I was thinking, so this is how you swim inward. So this is how you flow outward. So this is how you pray.
Reading from the book of Isaiah, chapter 55, verse 12. For you shall go out in joy and be led back in peace. The mountains and the hills before you shall burst into song, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands.
Mysteries, yes, from devotions. Truly, we live with mysteries too marvelous to be understood. How grass can be nourishing in the mouths of the lambs. How rivers and stones are forever in allegiance with gravity, while we ourselves dream of rising. How two hands touch, and the bonds will never be broken. How people come from delight or the scars of damage to the comfort of a poem. Let me keep my distance always from those who think they have the answers. Let me keep company always with those who say, look, and laugh in astonishment and bow their heads.
Reading from Psalm 65, verses 5 through 13. By awesome deeds, you answer us with deliverance, O God of our salvation. You are the hope of all the ends of the earth and of the farthest seas. By your strength, you established the mountains. You are girded with might. You silence the roaring of the seas, the roaring of their waves, the tumult of the peoples. Those who live at earth's farthest bounds are awed by your signs. You make the gateways of the morning and the evening shout for joy. You visit the earth and water it. You greatly enrich it. The river of God is full of water. You provide the people with grain, the so you have prepared it. You water its furrows abundantly, settling its ridges, softening it with showers, blessing its growth. You crown the earth with your bounty. Your wagon tracks overflow with richness. Pastures of the wilderness overflow. The hills gird themselves with joy. The meadows clothe themselves with flocks. The valleys deck themselves with grain. They shout and sing together for joy.
I happened to be standing from devotion. I don't know where prayers go or what they do. Do cats pray while they sleep, half asleep in the sun? Does the opossum pray as it crosses the street? The sunflowers, the old black oak, growing older every year. I know I can walk through the world along the shore or under the trees with my mind filled with things of little importance, in full self-attendance, a condition I can't really call being alive. Is a prayer a gift? Or a petition? Or does it matter? The sunflowers blaze. Maybe that's their way. Maybe the cats are sound asleep. Maybe not. While I was thinking this, I happened to be standing just outside my door with my notebook open, which is the way I begin every morning. Then a wren in the privet began to sing and looked at me sitting under the blue trees shyly. He was positively drenched in enthusiasm. I don't know why. And yet, why not? I wouldn't persuade you from whatever you believe or whatever you don't. That's your business. But I thought of the wren singing. What could this be if it isn't a prayer? So I just listened, my pen in the air.
Thank you for being here. I don't really have any closing remarks except to point out the back page of the folder. I have little takeaways for you. parting gifts, swag bags. And I love Mary's, from the poem Sometimes, instructions for living a life. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it. So any of these things on this back page that you feel speaks to you, or that you might try, and believe me, that first one, watch the snow or rain through your window, I had no idea that it was going to be snowing. But we always watch things like the snow or the wind, we hear the wind, or we watch the rain, and it makes our lives kind of inconvenient because we were going to do something, and that's getting in our way. And this one says, just stop for a second and focus on what was God's intention in creating this, where every snowflake is different. So there are plenty of things on this list. If you find one that speaks to you, we invite you to do it, to consider it. Thank you.
I have to say, Sue, I rather like the idea of a spiritual swag bag. Now, friends, as we leave this place, let us take some things with us. Let us take the wisdom and guidance of God's Word with us. Let us take the provocative wisdom of Mary Oliver with us. Let us take the beauty of silence with us. Let us take the peace we experience in this sanctuary with us. Let us take the love that we share as a congregation full of lovers of God with us. Please stay safe as the snow and the cold descend upon us. And now, my friends, let us go in peace and go with God. Amen.
I know you don't want to go back out there, right?
Stay here, have some coffee,
Yeah. And one walk the lake was initially as the Thomas. This lady came away.